you'd like to become a CD subscriber, again, that is $30 a month. You get 2 CDs a week of Understanding the Times Radio. Okay, you are listening to Understanding the Times Radio. I am Jan Markell, your host. We are coming back very, very shortly. We're going to continue on with this rather uncomfortable topic of dual covenant theology. And please stick with us and don't touch that dial.
A reminder to Radio Archive listeners and podcasters that the Understanding the Times radio show is totally listener-supported. We air on several radio stations, which allows us to bring our programming to you. Would you consider a tax-deductible donation to Olive Tree Ministries for the radio outreach? You can send a check to Box 1452, Maple Grove, Minnesota, 55311. That's Box 1452, Maple Grove, Minnesota, 55311. You can also donate and order safely online at olivetreeviews.org or call 763-493-3010. And thanks for partnering with this ministry committed to helping you understand the times and contend for the faith. Let God arise and his enemies be scattered. Let victory be the cry of his land. Let the joy of the Lord be our people's strength. Bring the sign of the hope of his triumph. Welcome back to Jan Markell's Understanding the Times. Here's Jan Markell.
And welcome to part 2 of this hour. I want to pick up on it here within just a minute. Also, I need to quickly remind you of various ways of listening to this program, because some of you find it some of you only getting an hour of it. If you want the full 2 hours, or if you've got bad reception somewhere, all programming, the full 2 hours, goes up on my website Monday, late Monday of every week. And I haven't mentioned my website yet in this program. It's Olive Tree Views, views as in viewpoint, olivetreeviews.org. And you'll find a wealth of information there, including 5 years of radio programming posted at olivetreeviews.org. Now, resetting the stage, we started a little while ago by talking about, apologetics, another false teaching, dual covenant theology. And that is basically keeping it on a pretty simple level here, and we could get real complicated for you, but we're in the interest of time, we can't. Gentiles come to faith through Jesus. But now there are evangelicals embracing the false teaching that Jews are automatically saved just because they're Jews, and they perhaps have a different kind of a covenant with Moses, a covenant with Abraham, and so forth. I have in studio with me Carl Johnson, who is an assistant pastor at Twin City Fellowship in Minneapolis, St. Louis Park suburb. He heads the Bless Israel ministry at Twin City Fellowship Church. And he's done an extensive study and teaching on dual covenant theology. Carl, you want to say anything else here before I make a couple of other concluding statements on as it concerns Pastor John Hagee?
Well, I think we have to keep in mind, Jan, that even though on the one hand John has done some very admirable things in regard to his ministry, Christians United for Israel, on the other hand, though, he has really downplayed, and even he has taken what we as evangelicals hold to as far as salvation is only found through Jesus Christ, and he has pretty much thrown that on the scrap heap. And he has basically said, no, that both people can have their own ways. And as an evangelical, and as him being an evangelical, we have to take certainly opposition to that. And I think we really have to take him to task, because he is actually teaching heresy by teaching that.
Yeah. I had a couple of emails from a gentleman named Spencer Parker. He's a missionary with Light of Messiah Ministry in Dallas. I'll just read them they're very short. And he says in one email, he says, I am a Jewish believer involved in a ministry to Jews in Dallas. I used to live in San Antonio. I emailed Pastor Hagee's office identifying myself as a Christian and asked him about the dual covenant teaching, which he completely denied. Sometime later, I attended the big tribute to Israel sponsored by his church. During the reception afterward, I went up to him and said, as a Jew, now Spencer here is not, he's playing the part of an unbelieving Jew here, speaking to Pastor Hagee. He says, as a Jew, I've been told that if I were to die without accepting Jesus, I would be condemned to hell. Is this true? Pastor Hagee assured me, if I studied the Torah and lived by its teachings, I have nothing to worry about. Jan, those are his exact words. Spencer Parker later emailed me saying, I have also had condemnation from the Hagee faithful for my stand, and I have even lost mission support when I talked about it with my supporting churches. Just today I had someone tell me that they wanted to make a pilgrimage, her exact words, a pilgrimage to San Antonio to see Pastor Hagee. After a quick silent prayer, Spencer says, I began to tell her the truth. I could tell by her expression that she may not have entirely believed me. The most telling example of Pastor Hagee's teaching actually took place during a lecture by a Jewish anti-Christian group. I was attending, again undercover, and the speaker was telling the audience that said they could not trust Christians. One lady stood up and said, oh no, we can trust John Hagee. He never tries to convert us. How true, says Spencer Parker, Light of Messiah Ministry.
Oh, my. Here again we see compromise. Again, if you try to have a foot in both worlds, it inevitably leads to compromise, Jan. And unfortunately, Pastor Hagee here has compromised in the worst of ways.
Well, let me make some concluding remarks, and then we're going to move on and talk about some others that are flirting with this and some that are just plain embroiled in it. But basically, Jesus tells his disciples to go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, Matthew 10. There is only one Messiah, and all the world needs to accept him, folks. If you remember nothing else today, remember that. We can't walk in two worlds. We have significant differences with those who believe in dual covenant theology, and for that matter, other false theology. And, Carl, as you said, when we start doing this, it always leads to compromise.
Right. And that seems to be the case over and over in all these type of ministries. And just to maybe augment your final comment there, I think we have to understand, and Peter says it so well in Acts, he says that there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven in which men must be saved in regard to Jesus Christ. So it's not through Abraham, it's not through covenant with him, it's through Jesus Christ alone.
Right, and I think in this issue here of dual covenant, to those who have this aberrant theology, and they think that they think they're blessing the people so much, but they're really cursing them. They're cursing them to hell.
Yes. Well, any time that you have a lopsided understanding of theology and the gospel, it will always lead, again, to these compromises. And unfortunately, what they are doing on the one hand is good. On the other hand, they're neglecting the most important thing, and that is to bring the gospel, because we have been told to go into all the world, right? Proclaim the gospel. And that's our marching orders as believers. We have been commanded to take it. And so when we close our mouths, we are actually, as you say, not blessing the Jewish people, we are cursing them.
Again, Carl Johnson is assistant pastor at Twin City Fellowship. You can learn more about that church in St. Louis Park, a suburb of Minneapolis, at twincityfellowship.com. And if you'd like to get the complete teaching on dual covenant theology, you might even call, and that number is...
Yes, 952-935-3100, and just ask for the teaching on dual covenant theology, and we'll mail it out to you free of charge.
Okay, that's 952-935-3100, 952-935-3100, not even a charge for the in-depth teaching